Okay. Just waiting for people to come in. Let me send a clan message. And let me go to Facebook. I wonder who's on. If you're watching this retroactively, just fast forward because I'm waiting for people from the clan to come on. Let me see who's online. Shri LM, Elan John. I don't know if there's 6 people are on, but Kitty, stop moving the laptop. Kitty, stop moving the laptop. Kitty. Okay, so apparently there's one person watching. I'm not sure. I can't tell who though. So drop a comment. I'm still getting more people to come in. I'm sending the messages now. If you have any questions or whatever, you can ask them while we wait for everybody else to get here. Check. Okay. Let me send another message on Facebook and see. All right. So, okay. So we have 2 people on right now. Hey. Hey. Now, always. Okay. So, basically, I'm doing the live stream through my Deplorable State of the Union channel. And I'll talk a little bit about that while everybody else gets here. But this is basically a my brain. I'm so tired. It's basically we're talking about the clan that we have in different games that we all play together. And I'm going to turn this off because it's distracting. But yeah, I could not remind. Okay, so for the Deplorable channel, the reason I haven't made any videos is because I just started doing my master's degree, and my professor asked me to do a 26-page review on the latest research in epigenetics, and that's taken all my time completely. And I'm also still studying for the USMLE and working 40 hours a week. So I have no time whatsoever. Tomorrow, my classes have been canceled at night, so I'll be just studying all day. I really wish I could make content on a regular basis. There's obviously a lot going on, and there's a lot of topics that I want to be able to cover, but I just can't. What I might do is I might do a video on my paper, which is I should finish it within about, maybe, I'm hoping, 2 weeks. And so what I'll do is I'll put, when I finish the paper, I'll post it. Since I'm the author, I can do that. and I'll talk about exactly what is epigenetics and what does it have to do with evolution. And it's super fascinating because the latest research, and I mean like the bleeding edge research right now, is that, yeah, I'm in China. Yeah. Okay. So the research. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Um, so I really want to create a community of like-minded people that really do want to study these topics, and going from science to philosophy and a little bit of religion here and there. But anyway, I'm so sorry about that. I have a rotating table. My cat keeps jumping everywhere. So anyway, it turns out that the decisions that you make now affect the future generations in ways that we just didn't think it was possible. So that, like I said, the latest papers are showing that, for example, if you have a proclivity for alcoholism, well, it's because 6 generations ago you had alcoholics in your family. It's not just that your parents are alcoholics; is that it goes back several generations, and it's a little bit complicated right now to go into. But I'd be happy to make a video about that, or even maybe a live stream about that later, and hopefully, whatnot, you guys can enjoy that content as well. So I see it's only 2 people, and I don't know. I don't know. I wish I could see who's on. This is the first time that I'm streaming on YouTube. Oh, there's a participants. Okay, so I can actually just go and check it out myself. Great. I've streamed, but through Twitch before, not through through YouTube. Which I do have to say, man, this is much easier than streaming through Twitch. And I do apologize for the background and everything. I just got lazy and so decided to use my laptop instead of setting everything up. Yeah, because if I set everything up, then I have to take everything back down, and that's just not. Anyway, so yeah, I can see the chat. I'm gonna guess I pronounced that as Awis or Awis. Sorry. So you guys have any questions or any topics you want me to cover? Feel free to go ahead and ask it in the chat, and I'll be happy to talk about it. But yeah, so a lot has been going on. Overall, I'm very happy with. Oh, you're Asteroid. Okay, there you go. Thank you, Asteroid. So overall, I'm fairly happy with the situation that the country or the state is in right now. Yeah, things could be better, obviously, but a lot of really good things are occurring in terms of the economy, in terms of judges being appointed, the 25 sealed grand jury indictments, which I wish they weren't sealed because I'd love to see who they're indicting. But I'm sure that's going to come out soon. China capitulating, which I honestly didn't think they would capitulate that quickly to our demands, but they capitulated. So wonderful. So overall, I think things are going fairly well. I'm going to diverge a little bit to talk about the game. So I'm just going to talk very quickly about what it means to get co. Yeah. Oh my God, way better than the Obama years. Oh man, see, I hated George W. Bush. I'm not a Bush fan. I'm sorry. I'm conservative, but I can't stand the neocons. And I thought he was the worst president we had ever had. And then Obama comes and he's like, hold my beer. He was just a horrendous president. And the fact that after you finish your presidency, as George Washington started this, once you leave, you're done. That's it. Retire. You can be a senior statesman and go around giving speeches and whatnot. That's wonderful. That's great. You can even teach at a university. And I'm not sure what exactly Obama's going to teach because he's not a constitutional scholar. He says he is, but to set up an office in Washington, D.C. and actively campaign against a sitting president or against a sitting president's policies, well, you're actively campaigning against the will of the people, those people that elected you in the first place. That I cannot stand. I have no respect for that. Thankfully, they're being outed for what they are. And I think more and more people are waking up. Not fast enough, but more and more people are waking up to just, I don't even know how to put it, the criminality because I think once this explodes, once it goes full blown, we're going to see the greatest scandal in our history. There's no question about that. I just wish it would happen sooner. I think they're waiting until after the midterms, because if they did it now, it could possibly affect the midterms. And the last thing you want is Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. Oh, that woman terrifies me. Well, there's a lot of people that terrify me in Congress, but that woman in particular terrifies me. So, yeah. Oh, North Korea, my God. I mean, Obama said there's no magic wand. You cannot do this. Well, I guess the guy's got a magic wand after all, because North Korea agreeing to sit down, agreeing to denuclearize, agreeing that our troops can stay on the peninsula. I mean, I honestly didn't think he could do it that fast. I thought maybe he would do it by the end of his third year or something, but not by the beginning of his second year. So I also think that we complain about the deep state, but I think the majority of the deep state are supporting him. The swamp still needs to be drained quite a bit. Looking at you, John McCain and Lindsey Graham, but yeah, and I mean, Paul Ryan leaving. Thank you, Paul Ryan. I'm so happy you're going. So yeah, so oh yeah, you're in California, Rooster? Man, if you're in California, my condolences, bro. I'm so sorry. And they wanna split California. What is it, into three? I think the five failed. They want to split it into three. But if you look at the divisions, they're not putting all the cities together. They're putting one major city in each of the three, which essentially would give them four more senators. No. And besides, here's the thing. Oh, cool, you're Modesto. So here's the thing, right? Let's say a state wants to split. Well, I mean, I've read the Constitution several times. I'm not exactly sure the legality of that. Does Congress have final say over that? I mean, I know that things have split in the past, but states have split in the past, but I'm not sure how that works. I've actually never looked into that. But I need to turn this off because it's going to keep clicking. All right, so yeah, that worries me a great deal. I don't think it's going to happen, and if it did happen, well, the rest of the country should have a say in that, because you don't just get four more senators willy-nilly. Essentially, you tip the scales permanently in your favor. So sneaky, but if you really wanted to, that's very easy. Draw a big circle around the three major liberal cities, and then split it into two. Great. And have the Republicans take the other side, and let the liberals take that little island that they want. That's great. That's fine. And I'm pretty sure the rest of the nation would be happy about that. But anyway, I don't see it happen. Be cool if it did. It'd be cool if it didn't happen. But I don't see that happening anyway. So other than that, I mean, the president having sex with a prostitute, with the porn star, which I don't think it happened. If it did happen, raise your hand if you're surprised that a billionaire had sex with a porn star. Really? It's like, before I voted for him, I assumed that he did. So, yeah. Who cares, man? I mean, Bill Clinton got a blowjob from Monica Lewinsky in the White House, and we forgave him. So it's like, well, we didn't forgive him, right? But whatever. And he lied on national TV. I mean, I remember that. At that time, I was, what was that, 95? I was 15 or 16 years old at that time. And I remember clear as day that I also didn't care, because the economy was doing fairly well. I mean, and also at 15, I didn't know very much, so, they want to lower the voting age to 16. Because a 16-year-old knows a lot. I like what oral office, yeah, for real. I like what Dr. Jordan Peterson says to 16-year-olds. And he says, 4 years ago, you were 12. The hell do you know? I mean, and now you have an opinion on this? Let me see your grades. Let me see what university you got accepted to. Let me see your accomplishments. No, we're not giving the voting age to 12. Why not 10? Why not 8? Well, I mean, why not have the parents decide who the children can vote for? I mean, it's just idiotic. If it were me, and I know it's never going to happen, it's never going to happen. It's just a pipe dream. But if it were me, voting age would be 28 years old. And the reason for that is because your brain isn't fully developed until you're 28. And in fact, most psychiatrists that work in jail will tell you, or in jails and prisons will tell you, that most men do not reoffend after the age of 28. In other words, we do all our dumb shit between the ages of 18 and 28. And then after that, we tend to mature a little bit more. Yeah, and also I think that if you don't pay taxes, you shouldn't get the right to vote, plain and simple. I don't care if you pay a penny in tax. You should, I mean, that's enough for me. As long as you're paying into the system, then you get a right to say. But if you come from Mexico, which is normally the case, or anywhere in South America, and you live off our welfare, no, you don't get a right to vote. Sorry, I just don't feel it. So I would like to see those two things happen, but they're never going to happen. Yeah, I mean, okay, so I'll tell you what I was doing when I was 20. Okay, no, that's not a good. That's actually not really gonna be, because I got my PhD at the age of 22, so that's not really representative. But when I was 18, I was smoking pot. I was drinking out with my friends. When I was 24, I was working at a strip club because I couldn't get a job anywhere else. My PhD was in philosophy, by the way, which is why I couldn't get a job anywhere else. You know, it's the equivalent to, yeah, and that's what the 20s are for, man. It's for partying. It's for experience, for finding yourself. Now, when you're 30, now you need to buck down a little bit because 40 is coming fast. I know, because I just turned 38 and 40, and I've already got white in my beard, man. So, yeah, it's coming down fast. So, but when you're 20 to say, yeah, 20 to 28, it's okay to party a little bit. You should be going to school, but it's okay to party a little bit and, you know, date different girls and find out what works for you and what not, and experiment. And yeah, but not experiment in, hey, I don't like this part of the Constitution. Let's cut it out. That's not that's the bad kind of experimenting, right? The founding fathers experimented, but they were all well, not all of them, but most of them were geniuses, or at least humble as hell. Very, very well educated, and they created the oldest country in the world by constitution, which is us. And it works. And in fact, it works so well that we're the most powerful nation in history, or at least in recorded history, right? We're not going back into the ancient history, but at least in the last 4,000 or 5,000 years of history that we know of. I mean, we're the only country that has dominated the oceans, all the oceans. And no country has ever done that before. Even Great Britain didn't do that. So, but yeah. So let me see who's participants here. Okay. So yeah. I wonder where everybody is right now. I guess I'll leave this up later, but but yeah, man, I can't imagine living in California. I mean, how hard? I mean, in Modesto, how hard is it to get a gun, or at least to? Because I mean, when I go back, I'm going to be living in Colorado, and in Colorado is an open carry state, so I can just go and you know, I mean, I'm going to be living in Boulder, which is not an open carry city, but it's easy to get a concealed carry permit. I don't want to open carry anywhere because it's too dangerous. But is it difficult? No, it's not hard. Okay, all right. I actually well, that's not true. I visited California one time, but I wasn't there for very long, less than a day. I was actually going to, I was going to China. But yeah, I don't know. Is it difficult for, like, because I know the majority in the cities are liberals, but do conservatives kind of group together, or are they kind of in different places around California? I'm kind of curious about that. I remember that a couple of a year ago or so, a lady had commented on one of my videos, had asked for help because she was being harassed by her liberal neighbors, and she wanted to know if I knew a lawyer. I didn't really know very many people, but I pointed her in a direction. Hopefully she got help. But she was saying that 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 her signs were getting ripped up and she was getting stuff thrown at her house and she was getting harassed. And I can't remember which city she was in. Um, I think it was Bakersfield. I'm not too sure. Uh, yeah, I've heard about that. But they're also Northern California has also been hit really hard by the just stupid policies that the Democrats have implemented. I mean, what was it? They say that okay, Kitty, stop it. They say that California would be the fifth, or no, yeah, California would be the fifth most uh, economic or have the highest GDP if they went their own way. But I was like, yeah, that's true. But before the Democrats got a hold of it, they would have been the fourth or the third. And that's how much wealth got squandered in the past what was it, 80 years or so, since the 1960s or something like that. So, and I think, well, actually, that's not true. 80, because didn't California vote for Reagan twice, if I'm not mistaken? I'm pretty sure that's true. I know because my mother voted for Reagan, and my mother was a communist for a very, very long time. So yeah, she definitely voted for that. But um, yeah, yeah. So I mean, California is a cautionary tale. New York is another cautionary tale with Bill De Blasio. How did that guy get elected again? I don't, man, I don't get it. There are videos of the guy sleeping in his office with his feet up in the air. He goes in at around 11 o'clock and then locks himself in his office and doesn't do anything. I don't understand what's up with New York. Uh, that's another place where I don't think I could ever live. Plus, the taxes are just way too high. I mean, I think was it Nancy Pelosi said that the tax breaks that were given through this latest tax cut, they're going to make up by taxing more at the state level. I mean, that's just insane. And the thing that's really pissing me off is that a lot of companies are leaving California for Texas, uh, but most of them are liberal, and so what they're doing is forcing liberals to move to Texas, trying to turn the state blue. That is really really upsetting. Um, so I certainly hope that doesn't happen, though. Never New York. They don't continue. Yeah. Certainly. Yeah. Certainly. Man, I think when what's his name, Rudy Giuliani ran New York, it worked well. I mean, yeah, they had to stop and frisk and everything, but I mean, for the most part, he fixed New York, and yet we're going back. Crime is increasing. Knife attacks are increasing. We now have to have um, what are these called? Like the cement barriers, so that trucks don't go on the street and run people over. That's just insane. And then you have, was it New York, Detroit, and there was one, I think it was Chicago, that wanted to or did in give all inmates. Uh, oh yeah, I didn't know Arizona was. I knew Idaho and Colorado. I didn't know Arizona was. Alaska is too. But in Alaska, you kind of sort of have to open carry. That's not much of a choice when you got those many bears around. But they gave in. What are you doing, kitty? Come here. Oh, hey, this is my kitty. This is the one that keeps moving the computer in the back. Yeah, I know you want to fight. No, 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 no. No, stop it. Oh my God, he's gonna fight me now. Stop it. Anyway, they gave all the inmates the right to vote. So that's just so you violate the law. You're a rapist, a murderer, whatever. Okay, now you can determine the future of our country. What sense does that make? We lock these people up because they can't make good decisions. They're in prison because they can't make good decisions. Well, let's give them the right to vote because that's not important. Oh, it's not. Yeah, in India, India, man, you guys are. I think you guys looked at America and said, "Hey, we want some of that crazy." That's insane. What are the chances, Nil? What are the chances that that Modi will not win re-election? What do you think? You think he wins re-election? Because as far as I'm concerned, India's doing much better than it was before. Um, I, I'm curious what your opinion is. Whether whether he'll actually, you think he'll win? I hope he'll win. I mean, if I look at the stage and I look at world leaders right now, the ones that I like, obviously I like Trump, I like Modi, but I also like Duarte from the Philippines. I really like that guy. Um, that guy's not messing around. He just said, go in there, just kill all the terrorists. They're like, but there are women there. Yeah, but the terrorists. So go ahead. And you know what? The terrorism has gone down, and he's gotten control of it. I like Putin, but not because he's a good man. I just like his attitude. He's got this I don't care, I don't give a damn face. I just like that. I don't know. I don't particularly like the man too much, but because I know he's not a good person, but I don't think he's the monster we make him out to be. I think he is a monster, but I don't think he's. But then again, Duarte's a monster as well, but he's my kind of monster, if that makes any sense. I'm kind of neutral on Chairman Xi. I think I don't envy his job to run a country as large as China with the income inequality, the actual income inequality, not the SJW income inequality that China has. China has 300 million people in its oh yeah, no gay parades there. Yeah, they tried that before. Yeah, and the parade went straight to jail. But yeah, I almost lost my train of thought. But you have 300 million middle class, but then you have 1 billion people in poverty. And that's called the Gini index. When you have such disparities, you tend to have revolution. And China knows that. China explodes periodically with revolution. And when it explodes, man. And so they're propping up their economy and doing everything they can to try to even create fake jobs for these people. And I mean fake jobs, I mean jobs that have zero profit, but you got to keep them employed, because if you don't, they're going to riot. So I don't envy Xi at all. And then you've got Japan, who's best friends with America, and then you've got Putin up there, which you always have to worry about, and then you've got Kim Jong Potato Head over here. I mean, it's and then you have India, which is it's. I would argue the next 100 years is an American century. I don't care what anybody says. I think the next 100 years is another American century. Past that, I think if India can fix some of its problems, I think India will take a much more central role in the world stage. So, and I've been saying that now for almost like 20 years. Back then, people laughed at me, and they're still laughing at me. But I don't think China. Well, I mean, I care a little, and actually, no. You should care. You should care, because we're very close to being able to live 150 years. Like, that is a reasonable assumption. That's very reasonable. If you understood the latest discoveries in medicine, we are very, very, very close to everybody living past 100. Now, there's a problem with that, because if you live past 100, well, then you're going to have an entire population with dementia. So we're trying to. It's a matter of keeping your body young, but keeping your mind functioning, because the brain obviously degrades over time. But we're getting close to that. So I think that by the end of the next 100 years, it will be reasonable for people to live 150 or 200 years. I don't think that's completely out of the question. Now, I don't think everybody's going to live like that, right? I think it's not in the interest of humanity to have 9 billion people, which I think the population will go up to about 14 billion, then it'll drop and it will oscillate between 9 to 10 billion. I don't think it'll go up exponentially, and just like I don't think global warming is going to kill us all or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I care also because I'm going to have children. I mean, if you look at the leaders of Europe, I forgot. I have a picture where it shows most of the leaders of Europe and the leaders of the United Nations. None of them have children. I think like 1 or 2 have children. So what do they care? They don't care what's going to happen because it doesn't. They have no stakes in it. They have no. Oh, global cooling. Yeah, no. I've been saying for well, said let me see. I'm 38, so since I was about 18 years old and I formulated my opinion, I've been researching it. We are entering into an ice age. There is no global warming. What's coming is a damn global cooling. And that is going to affect uh, major areas of food growth. So there will be depopulation. Yeah, there will be. But it's not going to be because of heating. It's going to be because of cooling. And of course, because of mass migration and warfare. Which also will introduce pestilence and disease, and that is why I think that the population is going to, because nature controls everything. I mean, we think we're above nature, but when something grows too much and threatens the system responds, and the system is not just Earth. I think it's far more than that. So it's going to, I mean, it's not going to be a pretty 100 years for sure, but but I care because, like I said, I'm going to have children and grandchildren, and they're going to be alive then, and I don't want them to live in a world where that is the product of my mistakes, right? And I think that this is the problem that a lot of liberals have today, is that their heart is in the right place, but apparently their brain is absent. And it's okay to care, but you should care with logic, and you should do your research. Oh, absolutely. Nature is the real God. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could not agree with you more on that. Absolutely. So I certainly hope that. I mean, there is hope. There is hope because you see that that Greece, Italy, England. You see that there's the conservative movement is waking up. Austria is another one. Poland is another one, and they're getting sick and tired of the EU. And I don't think the EU will survive. I think, or if it survives, it'll survive as a much smaller unit. And so they're doing a tremendous amount of damage, especially Germany, as if they didn't do enough damage in the last century. They're doing a lot more damage because their economy depends on their exports, and they can't lower the value of the euro, because if they do that, then their exports are not going to sell. And so or their profit margin is going to go down, and so they won't be able to sustain it. Yeah, well, not just Stonehenge, man. If you go back, I mean, every single ancient monolithic structure that we have is astronomically oriented. Every single one. So from Göbekli Tepe to Machu Picchu, through the Giza, all of them are through what was discovered in South Africa, Adam's calendar. If you don't know these things, Google them, because they're just, or on YouTube, because they're fascinating, just fascinating. Oh yeah, Konarak, yeah. So there are. I mean, they knew to watch the heavens, because the heavens predict what's going to happen on Earth. Uh, it's like Solon said, which is it's probably my favorite quote in history. And Solon, which was a teacher of Plato, he said, "There's nothing new under the heavens. That which was, so shall be again." Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, I think age is it's just a mental thing, man. Because when I got tired of teaching English, and teaching, because it's so boring, nothing new, and the students don't really care, that I decided to go back to school, to go back to medical school. And I was 30 years old, and my then fiance, my wife, which was my fiance back then, actually she was my girlfriend at the time, not my fiance. She just told me, she looked at me, she said, "But you're old." I looked at her and I said, "Well, I don't care. You have to continue your education. It doesn't matter how long it takes you. What matters is that you make it." And I worked extremely hard, and I'm still working hard. I'm not there yet. When I finish everything, I should be hopefully 44, if not 46. It's that's a time frame, and then my career can finally go where I want it to go. But I think a lot of people, they see an age, they see a number, and they say, well, that's it, I'm old, and they just give up. They just give up. And man, my mother got her PhD finally. She was like 48 or almost 50 years old. It took her that long because she was very poor. She had 3 children. We didn't have a lot of money, and she worked. She took one class, one semester over the course of like 10 years to be able to get her PhD. But she did it, and it took a really, really long time. But I have friends of mine that they're my age, and the highest thing they've ever done. Some didn't even graduate high school. I mean, I don't get that, man. For example, you can have technical ability, which I have none whatsoever. So I'm constantly living in fear that something will break in my house. I can't fix anything. Um, yeah. Is it okay to for college? So that depends on where you're going. That depends on the country you're going to. In America, it's common for students to take a year off and then apply. It's very common, and it's common for students to go for one semester and then not go for a year and then continue and go on and off. There is a limit for some universities. I think it's a 10-year limit that no class can be older than 10 years without a waiver. But I'm not sure that applies to every school. So that's something that is school by school, state by state, district by district. That's not something that I can tell you, yeah, definitely this is the answer. Now, it may be the answer, let's say in China, where the central government controls everything, but I'm not sure. If that's your question, you mean if it's okay to come to China? I would say yes, but China has a limit of 26 years old that you can apply. So you have to be before 26. Who's 18? Okay, yeah. So, but if you're thinking of like coming to China, you're fine. You're fine. I managed to be able to get in at 30 because that rule didn't apply or didn't come into play until after I was already in. And there was a guy that actually went in with me. He was 45 and he went in with me. And we were the oldest people in the group. Most of the students who were like 18, 19 years old. And there was maybe one that was 25 or 26, two that were around 30, and then and then that guy. So yeah, so it was very interesting. And then the next year they put that rule in, and now you can't attend higher education in China if you're more than 26 years old, which I don't understand. That makes no sense to me, but whatever. Electronics, yeah, it's a very good career choice. So if you mean like to live in America, because I'm assuming that's what you're asking, or living in or studying in China. So if studying anything in China, you better be an autodidact. That means you better be able to teach yourself. If you mean in terms of getting a job in a multinational company or something like that, yeah, electronics is very useful, but you have to be good, because the problem with electronics is there are many. It's a highly competitive field, but it is. I would say that yeah, many companies are looking for. In fact, I was, for reasons I do not know, I was looking at uh, getting jobs in Antarctica, not because I'm going to Antarctica. I don't know why I was looking for that. I guess I was just bored. And uh, it's actually not very difficult to do that. And they are looking for people who know about electronics. So it's very possible to get a job down there. Yeah, the money's good. The money's real good because nobody wants to go down there. But in terms of job prospects, absolutely. Totally. With their age of 26. Well, no, the reason I came to China isn't because of that. In fact, I don't know. Did I tell the story of why I came to China? I can't remember. I mean, I'll briefly tell it again. It's not very long, but so All right. So what happened was I was working. This was in 2006. Uh, no, sorry. Yeah, 2006. I was working as a simultaneous interpreter because after I finished everything, I couldn't get a job in what I studied in. So I was by chance offered a job as an interpreter, and this was on the phone. I was because I'm bilingual. I'm fluent in Spanish and English, and it's very easy for me to go back and forth. I'm just a natural at it. And so I never had any training in this, but they gave me the test and I passed them all. So they said, okay, you can be an interpreter. They didn't pay very much, but it was steady pay. And steady pay is better than no pay. I lived through that. So it was, I think it was like $2 above minimum wage at the time, which it was fine. I was alone. I didn't have any kids or I wasn't in a relationship or anything. So that's fine. I needed a job desperately. And it was working from the house. Problem is I was living in a very bad neighborhood in Puerto Rico. How bad? At least once a week, I would see a dead body on the street. That's how bad. Nobody ever messed with me because at that point, and it's embarrassing to say this, I stopped taking a bath. I stopped taking care of myself. I made myself look disheveled on purpose, and I looked at the ground. I would often talk to myself to give this appearance. It was in Rio Piedras. It was if you look up the bus terminal in Rio Piedras. In fact, I'll type it in here in chat so in case you want to look for it. Piedras. So it was the bus terminal in Rio Piedras. There are some buildings behind there. That's where I lived, and it was, man, it was bad. I mean, it was really, really bad. And so I let myself go, and I was working and drinking an awful lot and really depressed. And I had this job. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life or anything like that. And um, my neighbor kept playing really loud music, but it was like the Spanish rap music called reggaeton, which it's terrible. I'll type it in reggaeton. Yeah, just YouTube that for like 5 seconds, and then if you don't vomit, turn it off. It's horrible music, but the bass is like boom, boom, and it would vibrate everything. And so I was trying to talk on the phone, and I kept having to say, "Excuse me, ma'am, I'm sorry, this is the interpreter. I can't finish the call. There's some noise outside. I apologize." I would give them my number. They would find somebody else. And at one point, I just lost my mind. And I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm getting off this island. So I had a globe. I was living in a room, by the way. It was in a house. The bathroom was outside. And I just had a small room. It was 8 by 10, and that was my life for about 8 months. Before that, I had lived in my car for about 2 months. So life was really it was rough, man. And anyway, I picked up the globe, I spun it, and I said, wherever it lands, that's where I'm going. I stopped. It landed in the Pacific Ocean, so that was a no-go. So I spun it again. I stopped, and it landed in China. I said, well, let me look up. And I looked up jobs in China, and then it said teach English in China. And I thought, I've got teaching degrees, but they're not in English. But I do have experience teaching English. So I sent my resume and gave them all my stuff. And within 12 hours, somebody called my phone, and they said, "Hey, you sent us the resume and all that?" I said, "Yeah." So when can you be here? I said, "Well, when do you want me here?" He goes like, they said, "Well, as soon as possible." I said, "Can you give me 2 weeks?" So I didn't have any money. I had very little money. So I said, "Great." I went. I sold all my DVDs, my games, my Xbox, everything to I don't know, I forgot what video game store, GameStop or something like that. And of course, they ripped me off, but I got a little bit of money, borrowed a little bit of money here, cashed my last paycheck. I literally had the clothes on my back, a few books, my computer, which I brought with me because I wasn't letting that go. And yeah, and then I got on an airplane, and 2 weeks later, I was in China working. And that was out of desperation. And that was the best move I ever did. It's hands down the best thing I ever did. It was, needless to say, it was frightening because I knew nothing about China. I didn't speak the language, didn't know where I was going, didn't know anything. And they put me in a town where nobody spoke English. There was only one other girl from Finland. She Finland? Yeah, she was Finnish. She was Finnish, and she ended up leaving after a month. And so I was there alone for 6 months in that little small town. And it really, I had internet, and back then YouTube and Facebook were not blocked, right? Google was not blocked yet. But it was an eye-opening experience because I got to experience a culture um, in 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 a way that I can't really describe it. And the people were very curious. They were very kind. And I was as respectful as I could be. My students, of course, didn't understand anything I was saying. I didn't understand anything they were saying. They just wanted me to be there to give them practice. And it was, the winter was freaky cold. I didn't have any cold clothes. So it was a very tough winter. Um, I didn't know what to eat, where to go. I didn't know where the supermarket, everything, nothing was in English. Uh, so it was fun, scary fun, but fun. And then eventually they moved me to the city, and that got a little bit better. I met some other people. They introduced me, and long story short, I've been here almost 12 years. So, and I have no regrets whatsoever, no regrets at all. Anyway, that's the basic story of how I got to be in China. And if I hadn't, I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have. Uh, I, you know what? I don't know if there are charities, and I didn't want any. Even when I was in Puerto Rico, even when I lived out of my car, I refused to take government assistance. I refused to take welfare. I refused to take anything because, in my mind, if I didn't make it, if I took that, I was a failure. I was a loser because I didn't have any children or a family. If I had children, well, that's a different story. You got to take care of your children. But it was just me. And so there are churches in China, but not in my town, and I didn't know where they were. I had absolutely no idea. There are some churches, but they're very monitored, and so they write down who goes in and who goes out, and they follow you around to make sure that you're not a problem. Obviously, after 12 years, they know I'm not a problem. But yeah, but some people do. They do the same at the mosques, by the way. They watch those Muslims here. Um, but they're, as long as you don't cause any problem, they don't care. My wife's family are Christian, and they have absolutely no problem whatsoever. But yeah, I couldn't accept any help. I had to do it on my own. I had to prove that I had to prove to myself that I could do it. It was kind of like one of those "you're not a real man if you don't do it" kind of situations. And there are moments where you have to accept help, and there are moments where you just got to do it by yourself. And I think if more people had that attitude of, especially the millennial generation. Look, I had college debt too, man. I didn't cry and bitch about it. All right. It's just, you're in your 20s. You're not going to have a good job. Your life is going to kind of suck. You're not going to have very much respect. You're not going to have the nice house and the nice car. You're not, your salary's not going to be good. Um, it's called being 20. When you're in your 30s, things get a little better, not by much, but a little better. Once you get into your late 30s, great. Things are going much better, assuming you haven't wasted your life. And I think teachers are doing the students, a disservice because they're not teaching them what it means to earn things yourself, what it means to pull yourself up, and what value that has in your life. Um, yeah, I mean, it's a shame. It's a real shame that this is the way things are going. But thankfully, it's not everywhere, right? There's still, if you look at the electoral map of 2016, the vast majority of the country was red. It wasn't blue. It was red. So there still are good traditions in good families across the country. So especially in the heartland of the country, what they call flyover, right? And I mean, they fly from shithole to shithole, but they fly over the good stuff. So, and I'm fine with that. They can fly on over. Unfortunately, most of them stop off at Denver. Eh, do what you do, right? But, I remember I went to a church. It's like a Methodist church. Uh, we just wanted to see the church, and we forgot that it was Sunday. I mean, I don't know why we didn't even figure that out. And my wife and I stumbled upon Mass. And so we were invited in. We said, yeah, cool, we'll come in. And it was a really nice service. It was a beautiful church. It's the oldest church in Denver. And oh, absolutely. I think I would say 90% of the professors in our country don't have a right to be professors. They just don't know anything. They don't study anything. Anyway, I'll finish my story. So anyway, and then I'll go back to that. But I went to this really, really, really nice church, and yeah, after service, we got a tour and everything, and the one of the parishioners, it was in the bathroom. We were peeing. I don't know why he was talking to me, but I didn't want to be rude. So he looked at me and he was like, "Oh, you're gonna love Denver. It's such a progressive city." And I thought in the back of my mind, yeah, it's not a real selling point for me. But thank you for telling me that. But yeah, um, but I think that most of the like I'll be honest with you. I don't know if I'm going to send my children uh, to college. I don't think college is worth it. It's just not worth it anymore. There are a few good colleges. There was one, I forgot the name, but I saw in an interview earlier where they have no majors. Everybody takes the same course, but all the students take quantum mechanics. All the students have to learn Greek and Latin. All the students have to read 200 of the classical books from philosophers and the great literature books, and they don't take like women's studies courses or anything like that. So I would like to see more people, more universities like that. It's a small, they only have 800 students because not everybody can make it there. So something like that I would totally be for. But most of them, I mean, what was it, the average GPA in 1980 was 2.8. The average GPA today is 3.2. Okay, and you say, wow, that's great. Grades are going up. No, but our kids are coming out of university dumber than ever before because they're not taught history. In fact, most schools do not require, this is mind blowing, they do not require a world history class. I mean, really? So you're not going to learn about World War II? You're not going to learn about World War One. You're not going to learn about the situations that happened in China, in the Koreas, about the Cold War. You're not going to learn about the Cold War because they don't want you to look at those 200 million corpses, right? Yeah, no, that's true. In most colleges today, it's not required. Also, any advanced math class is not required. They only require algebra, but they don't require calculus or pre-calculus in most cases. In some cases they do, like in science majors. But if you're doing a liberal arts major, they don't require you to take calculus. And that's just, to me, it's mind blowing that's not required. Um, but yeah, that's the unfortunate reality. Um, man, yeah, I mean, I've worked in universities here in China, and it's not that their system is better, because their system is not better. It's very archaic, and they know it. But for every one engineer that we produce, they produce 32 engineers. For every one scientist we produce, they produced 100 scientists. So that really should that I would do away with affirmative action completely in every single facet. We don't need it anymore. There was an argument to be made in the 1960s and 70s. There was an argument to be made, but we don't need it anymore. Here's the unpopular truth about this with affirmative action, and it goes down to an IQ problem. If you look at the average IQ of Caucasians, it's about 100, 101. The average IQ of Asians is about 105. Not all Asians. I mean, Asians in the United States, Asians in Asia. Well, are you talking Laos or are you talking China, right? Big difference there. The average IQ for Hispanics is 90, but the average IQ for African Americans is 85. And mind you, this is average. Average. That means that you have a lot lower and a lot higher. So it's not a lot, sorry, a lot lower and very little higher. So when you do affirmative action and you say, okay, well, we need more, I'm going to call it Black Americans because they're not African. They haven't been Africans in hundreds of years. That's like me saying I'm Irish or I'm Scottish. That's ridiculous. So anyway, so Black Americans, they go to the university, or even Hispanics, they go to the university and they get disproportionately more attention so that to keep them there, but their IQ isn't high enough to, one, graduate, and two, to when they graduate, if they graduate, they're not going to have enough knowledge to be able to do the same job. When you push them out into the real world, it looks great on paper. When you push them out into the real world, companies interview them and they say, I'm not going to hire this person. This person knows nothing. Yeah, they got a degree. Yeah, they got a good GPA, but they know nothing. And they're not going to hire them. You know what they're going to do? They're going to bring in people from China and India. Yeah, because that's what Microsoft does. That's what Google does. Uh, that's what Facebook used to do, and now they're ruining themselves. And I don't think they're going to survive this. So I think that what we have is an IQ problem, and affirmative action is a stupid issue. What we should do is, if I were president of the United States, which I won't be because I'd probably be assassinated the first day, but if I were president of the United States, this is what I would do. I would go on TV and I guess on social media because we're in 2018, and I would say we're going to, how JFK said we're going to put a man on the moon within 10 years, and we did. Well, I would say we're going to raise the level of IQ by I would be assassinated the first day, probably by my vice president. But I would say, well, we're going to raise the IQ by one standard deviation within 10 years, and I would put the best minds. Not just in America, I would reach out to China, to Russia, because if you had an IQ, let's say the average IQ rose by a standard or two standard deviations, I honestly think we would not have most of the problems we have in the world today. We just wouldn't have it. Most of those problems would go away. And we would have more intelligent solutions and more readily available solutions to all of our problems because everybody would be that much smarter. So that's what we need. We need an IQ project to lift everybody out of, if you want, intellectual poverty, because that's what it is. At an IQ of 90, you cannot have a functioning democracy. You cannot, because there are some concepts that they simply cannot understand. And so, yeah, I think affirmative action is it's terrible. It's just horrible. And the fact that it's crept into every aspect of our lives, uh, I don't. But because it's now become such an integral part of our country, I don't see how we're going to get rid of it. Oh yeah, no, and no matter what Trump says, I know the answer. Racist, bigoted, all these things. Yeah. All right, Neil, if you have a question about the Klan, ask it. Um, yeah, I mean, Trump's IQ, we don't know because he hasn't released it, but his IQ has to be above 140. It has to be. I don't see how he's below 140. You can't do the things he's done and accomplish what he has done and he also graduated from an Ivy League school back when it mattered, and he got near top of his class. So to call him stupid, I don't know. All right, sorry, Rooster. I'm gonna talk about the clan for a few minutes because there's a few things. So it's a game called Clash of Clans that we play, and we have a clan. Actually, we have three clans, but only one is active at the moment. And then we play other games like Boom Beach and Clash Royale. Everything Supercell related. So in terms of Conel, I my original vision for the clan was that we would have a series of about 20 codes across three clans. This is before the clans, before the game took a nosedive and started bleeding players, which is why our three clans became one clan. Um, that was the original idea, and that codes could move freely between the clans. The reason that I wanted to create these leaders was because eventually a lot of these players, when they grow a little bit older, they're going to have jobs, and we're going to be able to go from game to game. Like I wanted to do this in Destiny, but of course Destiny sucks now, or Call of Duty, or whatever games that people like, to be able to create a community where if you go to that game, well, you know that our clan is going to be there and somebody's going to support you. Somebody's going to walk you through it and have your back. That's the intent, and it still is the intent. But because Clash of Clans has taken a bit of a nosedive, I think we have to scale it back. If the clan is 50, then I think we should have no more than 10 co-leaders. That would be a fair assessment. Now, if we were to go to open a second clan up, then we should increase it to 15, not 20, but 15, and then have co-leaders dedicated going back and forth between the clans to make sure that everybody knows everybody. That is what I would like to see in the next few months. I think that we have a couple good potentials. I think that the two, we have more than 17. Yeah, I'm going to start demoting a few people. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create specific roles. And like one is in recruitment, one is in like human resources, in other words, talking with people. Another one will be dedicated to motivating people for clan games. Another co-leader could be dedicated to war, or two co-leaders for war. One for actually, one co-leader for war for the lower levels. The people in Town Hall 10 and Town Hall 11, they don't need motivation. They don't need it, because by the time you get to Town Hall 11, you know what you're doing, right? And if you don't know what you're doing, we're going to kick you because we don't have time to teach you. Right? You rushed. So but something like that. So what I'll do is I'll work it out on paper, and then in another live stream, I will talk in detail about each role and whom I'm going to choose for the role. But there are some people that will remain co and do nothing. For example, Sir Paul of Tyria. He's been with us since day one. The clan is 3 years old, and he's been with us for 3 years. In fact, he was with me when I was the leader of the other clan that I left, and he came with me. So I've known him for a long time. So he will remain co. And then there are what I call global leaders. You, me, and I can't really think of another global leader at the moment. And we're the ones that will Joshua's another one of those people that will remain co but not do anything. Thunder, I might do something with him. I might assign him to something. But Joshua's in the university. He donates, and he attacks in war, but he doesn't. I don't think he has time. So I don't want to put him under pressure. If James comes back, and he may, then I'll put him as a global leader. Right into Shenmiste. Okay, so you can tell him to look for us. Our clan is Frost Bitten. So that's the name of our clan. You can tell him to look for us and just tell him that Rooster sent him, and I'll know who he is, and we'll take good care of him, absolutely. Because we're very dedicated to this game, and it's a very active clan. You're always going to get donations, and we're very friendly. We've got people from all over the world. We've got people from England, India, the Philippines, America. We've got people from all over the world, and it's really awesome. The leadership of FB3. So yeah, that's why I'm thinking of sending, I don't know, maybe sending Asteroid or sending somebody else. Yeah, we're a level. Tell them we're a level 12 clan. We've got a lot of Town Hall 11s, and Thunder. I don't know. See, here's the thing. Thunder doesn't talk very much, so sending him to FB3 as a leader, I don't think that would work. See, when you first came and I made you co, and I sent you to FB3, I did that because I knew you were going to be active. And I'm afraid that if we send someone like Thunder, it's not going to happen. That's why I was thinking maybe Asteroid, or one of the two that wants promotion now, sending them as co and asking them to first join the MeWe account, and getting other players to join that as well. So that's what I would like to see happen. Yeah, so I'm going to try to rescue Batman, and I don't want to give. So in my other account, Garbage, I don't want to give up FB2, because I don't know if we want it in the future. So I'm leaving him as a placeholder and not taking him out of the clan. There's no one active there anyway. but I'll leave it there just in case we need it. But I'm going to try to rescue that. If you need, I can take Little Fencer and move him to FB3 and support that. I can support that the third clan that way. So at least I can give 2 accounts into FB3. And if we can just get 2 or 3 other, we need at least 5 active players for war. And if we can consistently rack up war wins, then that'll attract new players as well. So we can probably do that. You have 3. Okay. Yeah. Well, you know what? After this clan game is over, I'll move Little Fencer there. Okay. And I'll just leave my main in the main clan. And then this way, at least we can populate it. But leave Nil in the main clan because we need him for war right now. Use your other accounts there. So I don't think that would be too much of a problem. We can also move some of our Town Hall 8s there. Yeah, 22nd of May. That sounds good to me. That sounds good. 22nd of May. You should remind me though, because I have the memory of a squirrel. So please remind me. I'm sorry if this is boring, Rooster. But we have to deal with, see, some of our members are 15 years old. Some of our oldest members are 65 years old. So we've got a wide range of ages and ethnicities, which is really cool. Yeah, oh my God, I know, I just don't have time to send them. I know I keep saying I'm going to try, so I'm just not going to. I appreciate that, man. I really do. I do want to do more live streams. So, but next time I want to do it with topics. Like I said, I want to do explain the genetics and epigenetics once I finish my paper and have people. The paper is not too technical. There are obviously it gets very technical on some parts of like the circular RNA and the tRNA and what they do at the molecular level. But that's because my teacher forced me to do that. But other than that, it's fairly accessible. So you don't have to be a geneticist to understand what we're talking about. You don't have to have knowledge in biochemistry to understand most of the paper. And the parts that you can't understand, you don't need to understand them because they're not really important. They're only there because my professor forced me to put them there. And so I would like to, come on, biology's awesome. You suck, Nil. Biology's great. It's one of my favorites. So yeah, and I want to talk about the historical implications and the evolutionary implications of this latest field, which I think most people have no idea. Like if people really understood what we know now about genetics, we wouldn't be discussing, there being 92 genders. We wouldn't be discussing whether you can be an animal kin or you can be the soul of a cat trapped in a human's body, which has pure mental illness. We wouldn't have to be taught. Am I wrong? Is it more than 92? Are we past 100 now? Are we more progressive? We're past 100? Man, it's insane. There was this video of this one guy addressing in the United Nations or German Parliament, one of the two, and he was addressing the assembly, and he started reading everybody's preferred pronoun, and it took him 15 minutes to get through those pronouns, and you can see the faces of everybody just really boring, looking at him like, because he wanted to be politically correct, and it was hilarious. Oh man, it's just intersectionality. First, I had to look up what the hell intersectionality meant because I couldn't. I think I couldn't believe that's what it actually meant. So the problem with intersectionality is that if you break that, they say, well, there's an infinite number of ways to interpret something, and therefore there is no one correct way, which is incorrect because physics already solved this problem, and it works this way. How do we determine the speed of light is the speed of light? For example, a star emits light, and how long it takes to get to us. Well, there's a problem. There's a bunch of objects in the way, and light doesn't travel directly in a straight. The photons go pretty much everywhere. And so how do they do that? Well, what they do is they calculate the probability of particles not making it versus the probability of particles making it, and they average it out, and that turns out to be the correct number. So intersectionality doesn't understand that while there's an infinite number of ways of interpreting things, the average among those infinite ways ends up being what nature does. Didn't you know? No, seriously, 15 new, no, sorry, non-binary colleges just opened up. And what's a non-binary? Oh my God. Yeah, my condolences. Right. Who do you think controls the world? So I think that it's a little bit more complicated than that. I don't think any one person or one group controls the world. I think that you have, so there are different levels of resolution. So let's look at it this way. At one level of resolution, which I would say, let's say at the governmental level, what we call the deep state, the intelligence communities, I'd say absolutely there are groups that control that, and they're pretty much solidified. When you go below that and you say, well, who controls those groups? I think you're talking about a network that was probably started after 1940 that supersedes um, most governments, and they work in secret projects, developing certain or reverse engineering certain technologies, be it crashed UFOs or be it technology that we have found from ancient times. Now, I don't think that's a stretch. I've seen UFOs myself, so I know that that's a real thing. I have no doubt. As far as ancient technology, I think we have enough evidence to suggest that, yeah, we did have ancient technology and it was fairly advanced. And so being able to reverse engineer that. Now, we know that the military is always about 15 years ahead of everybody else. So if you had technology that was 50 years ahead and you hid that, then that would create a structure underneath. And I think that you do have a council of, I would guess, no more than 12 or 19 or 20 people that would dictate globally what happens. So that would lead to what we would call a breakaway civilization, in which their technology and their knowledge is so far advanced from ours. So now, if you go to another level of resolution, to a spiritual level, I think that well, so here's a curious way of looking at it. It's one of the things that they're doing at CERN, at the CERN super collider. They're trying to access higher dimensions. And what does that mean? If you look at matter and you look at everything else, antimatter, everything else that's at the totality of reality, matter is only about 8%. 92% is stuff we don't know. So we're the abnormality. We're what's not normal, right? And so I don't think it's too much to say that there may be intelligences that are influencing the way the world runs or the way it goes. How is that? I have no idea how that is, but I do think that something like that is absolutely possible. And I do think that in certain books like the Bible, it talks about that God put a veil uh, to separate not just heaven from hell, but to separate the different worlds. And if it wasn't so, uh, I think they would say that there would be no flesh left alive on earth. So I think that it depends on the level of resolution that you're looking at it, and that's not even going into the Sumerian text. It's not going into things like the Enuma Elish or the Corpus Hermeticum or any of these other ancient texts, which on the surface seem a little boring, but when you dig into it and you look at the etymology, you look at the way the words have changed over time and what they meant in their original language, they paint a very different picture, completely different picture of humanity. And this may seem unrelated, but it's very related, that we now have fairly conclusive evidence. I tried PUBG. I didn't like it too much. I didn't like it. I didn't like Fortnite either. Maybe also because the ping in China is too slow. I tried and I shoot and I get killed and then I see the bullet go and it doesn't hit anything. So yeah, ping is terrible in China. I can't do that. But anyway, I think ultimately though, the majority, not the majority, the silent majority controls the world. I think human consciousness has the ability to override. And if we could just get roughly 10% of the population, like the 100th monkey syndrome, if we could just get 10% of the population to not be assholes, I think it would have a rippling effect throughout the world and actually make the world a better place. I think we need more morality. I think we need more ethics, and we need more dialogue. And it's very possible to create a world that we want to live in, because the world right now, it's not looking that good, man. It's okay, but it could be a lot better. So yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But it starts like that. What they say is, you can't change the world, that you can change the people around you, and you can reach out. And maybe, like, my channel right now has less than 300 subscribers because I really haven't worked on it. I've been way too busy, but I will, and I'm going to grow it, and maybe it'll have 1,000, and then 10,000, and then 50,000, and 100,000, and it starts out slowly, slowly, slowly. But there are many other really good YouTube channels that, despite demonetization, despite them delisting us, they're still propping up, they're still creeping up, and they are spreading the message, and we are having an effect. We're having a huge effect. Trump is president. That's a great example of the effect that we're having. Brexit, that's an example of the effect that we're having. And so, you have time to live stream cock raids. I could do that. Yeah, Daily Wire is one. Oh my God. Louder with Crowder is another one. I love him. I think he's hilarious. What is this? The Fallen State. I love The Fallen State. I think he's great. Milo Yiannopoulos is phenomenal. I like him. I don't agree with some of the things he says, but I think he's a good, fun personality. Candace Owens is another one. Mark Dice, absolutely. I love Mark Dice. There's a lot, I mean, this all started with InfoWars a long time ago. And say what you want to say, man. Frogs ended up being gay, so yeah, he had something right. But yeah, there are many, many, many others. Pastor Dowell is another one. Oh my God, I keep forgetting because there's just too many of them popping up right now. Owen Benjamin is another one. I mean, it goes on and on and on. There's many other smaller channels that don't have as much following, but they have good dialogue going on, and the groups talk to each other, right? So it's not like we're having an isolated conversation. Maybe tomorrow I might talk to somebody about what we talked about today, or you might talk about what we talked about, and it continues on and on. So yeah, and the fact that we're seeing more Black conservatives, Rebel Media, yes, but when they let go of a lot of the people they let go of, I think they tried to skirt a line, and it wasn't good. What is this? Oh my God, this woman, she's gorgeous. She worked for Rebel Media. What's her name? Oh, she did the interview with the alt-right KKK members, and or not KKK. It was I forgot her name. And anyway, that got her fired. I'll think about it. Faith Goldie. And Faith Goldie. I love Faith Goldie, man. Faith Goldie is just awesome. That woman is fire, man. But we're having a lot more Black conservatives come out, and you can see that the real racism is not on our side. The real racism is on the left, because they focus and focus and focus on it. What we're saying is, I don't care what color you are. What do you have to bring to the table? Let's talk. And I think that you're starting to see a lot of that, and that's wonderful. I've wanted to see that for a long time. I wish I can get more involved, and I got to push myself to try to make at least one video a week or something. It's just that it's very difficult because I don't have a lot of time, but I really want to make more videos, especially about history and philosophy, because I just love discussing those topics. And I would also like, maybe once the channel grows a little bit more, to be able to talk to people, to bring them in on Skype. And I actually don't know how that works because I've not done that on YouTube, so I'll figure it out. And to just have like a round table discussion. We have a live stream of random subscribers, but we have a round table and everybody talks about it because everybody's got a story to tell. And it's one thing that Dr. Jordan Peterson says that I love so much. And he says constantly, listen to other people, or approach a conversation assuming the other person knows something you don't, because the likelihood is the other person knows a lot that you don't know. And so you approach it with humility and you approach it listening. So it doesn't matter if I may know a lot about one thing. I know I don't know everything. And I certainly don't know your experiences. So I would like to I've never seen that in any YouTube channel of people doing that at all. And I think that would be unique. It would be an interesting idea. I'd obviously have to grow the channel a little bit more. But maybe when we hit about 1,000 subscribers, we'll have enough that we can have every week, we can just sit down at a predetermined time that's good for everybody. And we can have a roundtable discussion, maybe 4 or 5 or up to 6 people. And we can talk about different topics and different experiences. And that would be really phenomenal. Oh, yeah. I mean, well, reading is a niche thing, right? Not most people don't read. Most people don't read. They don't. I mean, I remember I read when I was in middle school. I read 365 books in 1 year. I read a book a day. Now, granted, they weren't all Dostoevsky novels, but I tried to read different things. And it also because my life was not very good. My home life wasn't very good, and books were my escape. We didn't have internet back then. Right? There was no internet. So books were my, what is WTH? What the hell? I don't know. What do you mean by WTH? Oh my God, YouTube. No. If you want to lose faith in humanity, if you want to see what anonymity gives you, read the comments on YouTube. If you think that you have any amount of faith in humanity in the future, read YouTube. Oh man, yeah. I mean, now I don't read that as much because the books I read are like this big and they all have to do with chemistry. And no, you don't read through those. Like it takes me to read a 400-page book on science or a textbook. It takes me 2 to 3 weeks to digest, to go through it, and you have to read 4 or 5 hours a day, and it's painful, man. It's not easy to do. So, but when I finish all of this crap, and I finally get established, I'll go back to reading probably about 3 books a week. Yeah. Well, most of the books that I did were, remember, this is middle school books, right? These are middle school books. I'm not talking about chemistry books. We're talking about books in astronomy, but simple books. I read a lot of books in cartology, books in UFOs, books in anything I can get my hands on that was interesting. That's what I did. That's what I got. So yeah, so I tried to read books on every subject. Like I remember one time I had a question about, because somebody had mentioned a woman's period, and I thought, period. The first thing I thought was at the end of a sentence. I thought, so like women don't know how to put periods at the end of sentences? And then somebody told me what it meant, and I was like, what do you mean they bleed? And I can't remember how old I was. So I was too embarrassed to ask anybody. So I went to the library and I read through every textbook I have until I found out what the hell they were talking about. And I was like, oh, that's how babies are made. Oh man. Yeah, that was, I think that's the first time I've ever told anybody that story. I really had no idea. But it was funny, man. It was hilarious. Anyway, it's 10:53 p.m. It's almost 11 o'clock at night here. So I'm gonna be ending this. But if you guys want, hey, tell me when is a good day for me to stream? Like when is a good time? Rooster, also for you, man. When is a good time? If I do a live stream once a week or something like that, or once every 2 weeks, when's the best time for you? Like you can tell me in your time zone. so that I can take everybody into consideration. And because Neil is in India, so his is 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time, which is 9:30 p.m. in China. I don't know what time it is in America right now. It depends on where in America, right? But generally in the East Coast, it is 12-hour difference, so it would be almost 11 in the morning there. So, what are you whining about? My cat's being weird. You're not going out. Anyway, oh, really? Wow, that early? Wow. Okay. Yeah, I forget about that. I completely forget about that. Wow, that early. Okay. Wow, you're up early. It's hard for me to get up at that time. Yeah, okay. Is this a good time? Like if I do, because the best time for me to stream is Thursday for me. I guess that would be Wednesday for you. Or would that be Thursday for you as well? No, it would be Thursday because it's nighttime. I'm sorry. Wait, what day is it in California? So Wednesday or Thursday? I know it's not Friday. Oh, that's weird. I should probably Google that. Anyway, yeah. So most of if I do live streams, it's Thursday. Okay, okay. Yeah. All right. Okay, so if I'll try to get more people on, and then maybe do a live stream every 2 weeks on Thursday. What I'll do is I'll send a notification on the channel telling everybody that I'm going on live stream. So since you're subscribed, if you can hit the notification, oh, you're ahead of me. No, it's Thursday. It's Thursday. It's 11 o'clock Thursday, April 26th in China. So yeah, I'll send a notification so that you can know ahead of time. I'll try to do this maybe like a week or 4 days ahead of time so that you know when we're going to be live and whatnot. This was just a spur of the moment thing. I didn't even know you were going to show up, but I'm very happy you did. It's been great talking with you guys. I certainly hope that we can do this more often. It really does make a difference in every little bit makes a difference to building the country and the world we want to live in. And we got to fight back. We got to fight back against terrible ideas and against these murderous ideologies that gave us the last century. We can't let it happen again. And this is how we do it. Everybody does what they can do. So yeah, and feel free to message me on YouTube questions or topics you want me to research or whatnot, or just topics that we want to talk about. And that'd be great. I think that would be phenomenal for us to be able to go into it. So I'm going to end this here. And thank you very, very much for attending. And yeah, so I hope we can do this again in about 2 weeks. And hopefully I'll have my paper ready for you guys to read if you're interested in that. And yeah, so thank you for everything. And I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.